Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to YC Cooks and Bakes. I'm YC. Today, I am going to be doing chicken and dumplings. Now, I've done chicken and dumplings before, and I've done a video on making my dumplings for you. But if you'd like me to see them again, please stay tuned. And I will show you how I make my dumplings to go in my chicken and dumplings. But right now, first, I've had the chicken in the pot for about 3 hours. I used about 6 or 7 small thighs, and they were the boneless and skinless. And I put some carrot and some red onion and some of our favorite seasonings. And I haven't put any chicken broth or chicken bouillon yet. And I want you to see how golden this is before me even adding any broth or bouillon to it. I'll show you what it looks like. I'll just tilt you forward so you can see. You see how golden that is? And of course, the thighs cooked for about 3 hours already, so they're nice and broken up all on their own. And because they were boneless, there's no bones to clean up. But did you see how golden that was? And that's before me adding any broth or bouillon. And so this is some really good chicken stock in here from the chicken itself. And that's fantastic. And that's what you want for chicken and dumplings. And I can flavor it. I can add, broth granules to it as I see fit after. And there's some cracked black pepper in here, but I did not add any sodium yet because I may put in some, chicken broth. But you want to start off with letting the chicken make its own juice because it's just full of goodness. And I did put a little bit of thyme and some poultry seasoning, and like I said, the chopped red onion and some minced garlic and chopped carrot. You could put celery, whatever you have on hand. I didn't have any celery today, so I didn't use that, but I do have some carrot in here. And this is now at the stage where I can put, bring it to like a little bubbling boil, just a little bit, and drop some dumplings in. And I have on another burner, I have some rice I'm making because my boys like chicken and dumplings over rice. So I will bring you back at the counter so you can see how I mix up my dumplings. Okay. Okay, we're at the counter where we're going to mix up the dough for the dumplings. And this is a old-fashioned Dutch dumpling. So it's just the round ball kind that are a little bit doughy in the middle. It's not, this is great for a weekday, when people are working and going to school and so forth. Because, I've been doing laundry and everything else today. It's not the kind that where you have to roll out and cut in strips, and those are excellent too. That's the kind I was raised on. But when you're in a hurry, these are my go-to, Dutch dumpling, like the penne. And so we'll get started with a bowl, and I'm going to bring you forward so you can see me putting the stuff in the bowl. Of course, I don't have a glass bowl today. I'll be using this. And I'm going to double this. But I'm going to put down my recipe for just one batch of dumplings. But this is, I have 2 eggs out here that I'm going to be using. But the original recipe is just 1 egg. But like I said, I'm going to be doubling. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to start off with it calls for 1.5 cups of flour. So for me, that's going to be 3 cups of flour because my kids, they like a lot of dumplings. If you don't like a lot of dumplings and just a little bit, do not double the recipe. Okay. And I'm wearing an apron today to save my shirt from the flour again. This is another apron that my mom, purchased for me, and I really thank her for that. And she got it from the company called Aproners Apron, in case you're wondering. Okay. I'm going to loosen up this flour as best I can. I'm not going to, sift it or nothing. I'm just going to sift through it really quick with my utensil and do it like that. Just make sure that it's nice and airy and loose and not compact. And then I'm going to measure it out. Okay, let's see if I have almost 2 cups here. Let me see here. Yeah, that's about 2 there. So, and I do put this in, I'll add 1 more. Guess it won't be totally accurate inside the bowl, will it? Have to have it on a flat counter. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. And it's almost 1 there. Almost the 1 cup that I need. Okay, that's good. Okay, get this out of my way. Alright. Now, I'm going to, let's see. Let's just add our dry ingredients, stir that, and then we'll add the liquid ingredients in the middle of it. Okay, so it says, pinch of salt. So I'm going to do like 2 pinches there because I'm doubling. That's good. And then 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And I'm using the Clover Valley baking powder from Dollar General. Okay. And so I will be using, since it calls for 2 teaspoons, I'll be using 4. I hope I have that in here because it's starting to get low because I make biscuits so much. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I think I need just a smidgen more because some of them I do scant. Okay. Let's see. So that was the salt, baking powder, and flour. And that's pretty much it. Then we have oil, eggs, and milk to stiffen. So I'm going to stir this up so all the dry ingredients are mixed up. Okay, like so. And then I'm going to make like a little bit of a well in the middle. And I'll put my eggs in that well in the middle. Okay, and then we're going to be using, it says 2 teaspoons of Crisco oil. I have the Carlini oil from Aldi, and that's fine. I'll be using 4 teaspoons. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Or if you have hard shortening, you know, you could just melt the measurements from the grease, you know, from the shortening. And I'm just whipping the oil with the egg in the middle of this, the well that I made in the middle of the flour. It looks kind of like a volcano. I'll bring you up so you can see it. So see how I mix it like a little well in the middle? Okay. And then I'm going to stir it all around and make it kind of crumbly like you would see when you first start to make biscuits. And then we're going to use milk just to stiffen it into a dough where you can roll it into balls. And I'm using a fork right now, if you're wondering what I'm doing. And you keep mixing this till it kind of resembles like the little peas you'd see, pea-size shape flour that you'd see when you're making like a pie crust. See? Because the oil and the egg and everything are going in it. See how it's getting crumbly like? So I will go get my milk at this time, and I will bring you back. Okay, I'm back. And something just occurred to me, and I'm kind of glad that it did, so I can tell you about it, because this is famous. How many times have you gone to make something and your kids drank the milk, or somebody used the rest of it in cereal, or something like that? Well, it's gone. Now, you could use, if you have milk, you could use almond milk, coconut milk, cow's milk. It doesn't matter, as long as it's a dairy product. Well, I tell you what I did. I have sour cream on hand, and I added my bottle of purified water with it, and I made my own dairy consistency. It's dairy. As long as it's dairy, it could be buttermilk, it could be sour cream, but you want to, get it to like a milk consistency, and then use it. This is dairy, and it's going to work. It will work. I know, because I do biscuits like this. Whenever I'm out of something, I just say, okay, what else in my fridge is dairy? And I go for it. So believe you me, it's going to work. I'm just kind of glad it did while you were here. Okay. Don't go, oh my gosh, I got to run out to the store. No, you don't. Okay, so like I said, it's crumbly. So we're going to add this. And you just keep adding it to make it stiff enough to like where you can pack it into like little dough balls. Of course, like dumplings. You can already see it's packing more, but I'm going to go ahead and put in the rest of it. And if I have to make more with more sour cream, I will. This should work, but we'll see. You really have to, really work with it. Just like you would really work with your dough to make a crust or to make biscuits. Have some patience and work it through there. You'd be surprised. All of a sudden, it just starts sticking together in a big ball. Now, I am going to use my hands here. They are clean, and this is my family. And don't worry, if I was in a restaurant, I would definitely have plastic gloves on. I work a lot with my hands on cookie dough and so forth, and they know that. Okay. Believe you me, once it hits that high heat and boiling water, that's a good thing too. And they will cook, and they'll be so scrumptious on the outside and nice and bread and doughy kind of on the inside, but not gluey. You know what I mean? They'll be like bread. They'll be scrumptious. There, you see this? How it's holding together? It's great. That's perfect. And if your dough is really gummy, you can use a teaspoon to make, drop it by a teaspoon in the boiling broth for your dumplings. But if you can get it like a ball like this, you can roll them like you do cookies like this. You can like that. You know what I mean? Just, you could do them as, remember now, because there's baking powder in these, do them kind of small because they'll get bigger because there's baking powder in these. So I'm going to roll this into some balls and for the dumplings, and I'll bring you back. Okay, I'm back. I have all of them rolled as best I can into little balls. You can see that. And you have to bring your your broth, like your little soup there that you have with the chicken and carrots and whatever, onions, celery. And you bring it to like a medium boil, like medium to low boil, just where it wants to start to bubble. And you put them in one at a time. You don't put them in all together. You don't want it one big clump. You have to put them in separate. And then what happens is they cook for a little bit and they rise, they plump up to the top. And once they're all floating, then you put the lid on for about 12 minutes on a medium boil. Not boiling where it's going to boil over, just a low, barely boiling, but just enough where it wants to kind of bubble up. And you cook them 12 minutes with the lid on, and they'll be done all the way to the inside. And like I said, you can use some bouillon cubes or loose granule broth, bouillon, to flavor it some more. And now's the time too that if you have, just like a homemade soup, if you have part bags of veggies in your freezer, use them. If you have, did you have some peas earlier in the week or some green beans, and you have just a little tiny cup, wrapped up in your fridge, now's the time to use it. Did you have leftover chicken gravy from something? Now's the time to use it. And I know with a lot of these New Year's resolutions, a lot of people don't want to use this white flour. But during hard times, even in the days of the early depressions, way back when, if you had sacks of flour, you could make things, whether it be dumplings or biscuits or pie crust. You could make a chicken pot pie. It's endless. Cookies, you name it. And yes, it's it's not food like salads and stuff like that, but your family was able to eat if you had sacks of flour on hand and sacks of rice and stuff like that. So to see me do the dumplings, meet me at the stove. Okay, we're back at the stove, and I want to show you what the broth is doing so that you can see when you should put these dumplings in. I'm going to tilt you forward, and you probably can hear it boiling a little bit. You see it? See how it's going like just a little tiny bit in the middle? It's doing like a little dance. That's a good time to start putting these in. And you put one in where you see it bubble. And you see a bubble somewhere else, put one in there. And just keep doing that. And eventually they're all going to be at the top. And you'll be able to put your lid on and time it for about 12 minutes. Okay. And don't forget, before you add any chicken broth granules or anything to it, make sure you taste it, because you don't want to, make it too salty, or you want to see how much you need to add, You don't want your stuff to be too salty. And by adding them in one at a time like this may seem tedious if you have a lot of dumplings, but it will ensure that they stay, separated. In fact, I'm going to dunk some in to make more room. Okay. There we go. Good going in. Let's see. Got flour all over my hands and the stove. So I'm just going to wipe up this flour. Okay. And if it's not coming to that, enough of a rolling boil for you could turn it up just a hint, just a smidgen. Okay. Now, and this is after, you've removed any bones, or I didn't have bones because I happened to buy boneless this time, but a lot of times I buy the chickens with the bones in it. I have to, take the bones out of this first, and the skin and everything. You could save the skin and the fat and the gristle for the dogs and your pets or whatever. But a lot of times I have that to clean the chicken up first before going on to this step. It just so happens I happen to have boneless and skinless today, and I saw a few pieces of fat at the top, and I skimmed those off, and I'll probably put them in the dog's food, Speaking of dogs, I think I have one that wants to go outside, so I'm gonna put a lid on this. Let's see, let me get my lid. I want you to see how they're at the top first before I put the lid on. See how they all floated? They floated to the top. Just like when I showed you the gnocchi, these dumplings will float to the top too. Same concept. And I'll make sure, I put this recipe in the description. I've done dumplings a couple times before, but for those who have not seen it, you'll be able to have the recipe right there. So let me see if I can turn you where you can see. Bella, you want to go outside, don't you? You see the dog? You want to go outside? No? You're just sitting there? Okay, well, you let me know. Okay, so I am going to get these dumplings cooked, and then it's going to be, served over rice. I don't always use the rice. I don't like rice as much as my kids, so sometimes I have it without it, but it makes a good meal with chicken and dumplings over rice. So I will bring you back. Okay, we're back at the counter, and this is supper tonight. I'll tilt you forward so you can see it. It is chicken and dumplings, and I put a little bit of rice so you could see some rice there. But chicken and dumplings, and that's for supper, and it's a great comfort food for a cold winter night. Hope you give it a try, and please look in the description for the recipe for the Dutch dumplings. Have a great night. Bye-bye.